it looks like everyone has been admitted so far, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Hi, y'all. My name is Lindsay Ramos. I'm the first-year graduate assistant for New Student Family Programs at Florida State, and we are so excited to have y'all here tonight. We have a lot of good information to share with you, and we have people from undergraduate studies and the libraries and the Career Center to talk about all things academics with you, and I hope you're ready for a lot of information that's super useful, especially with school starting in like a couple weeks. But before we get started, we're going to go over some different things from New Student Family Programs and some guidelines for tonight's webinar, and then we will get started and turn it over to our presenters. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Okay, can we all see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Let me go ahead and get a full screen. Okay. So first off, we want to say congratulations. We often look at the student and say congratulations for getting accepted into college, getting accepted into programs, but in reality, we all know that they did not get here by themselves. It takes a lot of people for every student to succeed. So we want to say thank you for helping your student get here and helping them succeed and wanting the best for them and pushing them to even pursue higher education. So congratulations that you all made it to this point. We're super excited that you are all here and looking forward to spending the next couple years having you all connected to FSU. So Family Connection is a extension of New Student and Family Programs, and it's basically what it says to make sure that families are connected to the university as much as students are, especially in Corona times. It's really hard to get information and stay connected and know what exactly is going on when everybody doesn't really know what's going on. So Family Connection is kind of there to help you all stay connected and stay the most up to date as you can with everything that's happening in your student's life and everything that's happening with the university. So we have a few ways for you to stay connected. You can see we have email, a Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. There's a blog post that orientation leaders write blog posts that are super helpful with tips and tricks being a student on FSU's campus. So that is all super helpful for staying connected and staying connected to your students and the university. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen there. So before I turn it over to Dr. Hammond, we are going to go over a few guidelines. So if you can see, we're all muted, and that is for kind of to set the tone. We have a lot of information to get through, and with Zoom, the audio can kind of be tricky. Sometimes you're muted, sometimes you're not. Sometimes you don't realize you're not muted. So we have a setting just to keep everyone muted. So questions can be asked, and we ask that you send them through the chat, and you will be able to send them to Harrison or Alexa. And throughout the presentation, if you have questions, please make sure to send them to them, and we will get them answered at the very end. And that just make sure that the presentation gets as smooth as it can, and we can all get all the information, and then your questions can be answered at the end. So send questions to Harrison or Alexa, and we will get them answered at the very end. And also Vento, who is another orientation leader, he will be dropping community guidelines, and we just ask that you abide by these guidelines to make sure that we have the best space that we can. We have all these Zoom spaces, and we put guidelines in every single one of them just to make sure that we are all staying respectful and having the best communication and environment that we can have in these spaces. So we ask that you just abide by those. And I believe that's all we have setting up for our presentation. So now I will turn it over to Dr. Hammond.
Great, thank you very much, Lindsay. Good evening, everyone. Again, I am Sarah Hammond. I am one of the Associate Deans in Undergraduate Studies, and I'm excited to be here this evening with you. Lindsay is actually going to drive the presentation for me, so she is going to go ahead and pull that up and share screen for the PowerPoint. And while she's doing that, I will go ahead and tell you that in addition to the recording of this, have already made this PowerPoint available to you at the ACE website, and I will be giving you some details on how to access that. So Lindsay, you can go ahead and go to the next page. The first thing I really want to do is to assure you as family members that the Division of Undergraduate Studies is full of caring professionals who love to work with students, and we love helping them navigate academics at FSU. Undergraduate Studies is actually the dean's office or the administrative home for most first-year students until they're admitted to their college. But even if your student was admitted directly into the College of Music or the College of Fine Arts, we are here to help just the same. The Undergraduate Studies website has our current contact information, but you can also find it in My FSU Mobile if you have already downloaded that. It's a free app. If you have not downloaded it, you should do that right away because it has all kinds of helpful information for students and for family members. Next slide, please. Along with your dean and associate deans in undergraduate studies, your students have academic advisors who are connected to the colleges that house their intended majors. The advisor is a great resource person for the major and other opportunities at FSU. So right up front, I want you to know that those meetings are about more than just selecting courses. We want your student to meet at least once a semester with their academic advisor. If your student doesn't recall how to contact their academic advisor, they can use the advisor search shown here on the screen, available on the FSU website or again, the My FSU mobile app. One note of caution here about advising. Advising is a full-time job to stay on top of all the state law and FSU-specific regulation changes that are unique even down to the major. So students who self-advise or rely on people who are not academic advisors are more likely to make costly mistakes. So please, we urge your student to meet regularly with their academic advisor. As we go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about academic policies. These are several documents that highlight FSU's academic requirements and policies. A critical one for new students is the It's All Academic book, which outlines the general education and the graduation requirements that are in effect for the entering class. And those policies usually stay the same by what we call catalog year, or the year the student started as a degree-seeking student at FSU. So therefore, your students will use the 2020 version. This book's available on the website and shared with your student when they received their virtual orientation materials, and this would be a really great read for family members too, hint, hint. The broader university policies are contained in what we call the undergraduate bulletin. But for this one, be sure to use the latest edition because policies change from year to year. I do not recommend reading this one cover to cover because it is quite lengthy, but it is the primary resource for detailed academic processes or issues such as grade appeals, academic standing, and much more. And of course, I'll make one more plug to download that My FSU mobile app. All right, on to the next slide and academic majors and maps. If your student has been through orientation, we have spent a lot of time getting them acquainted with the academic map for their intended major. You can view these on the FSU website or My FSU mobile. In both places, they are set up so that you can explore, or students can explore majors and maps by categories as shown with the thumbnail pictures there on the left, or by an alphabetical list available in the top right link that's called A to Z list. Moving on to the next page, I want to show you in a little bit more detail about this resource. By clicking into one of the majors, you can see a detailed program description, including admission and course requirements for the major. By clicking on the academic map link for the major, you can see a sample schedule of courses by term and any milestones that have to be completed for the student to stay on map for admission to the major. If there is ever a time your student does not meet a milestone, like a grade in a required course, they'll get a hold on registration until meeting with their academic advisor with the purpose of getting back on MAP or initiating a major change if that is more appropriate. All right, on to course registration on the next slide. And this, of course, is one of the big stressors for new students. If your student has gone through New Knoll virtual orientation as either a summer or fall admit, then they should be registered for fall courses. And if not, you'll want to tell your student to get in touch with me, hopefully this week, for help. It is best to email me at ace@fsu.edu, ace@fsu.edu. Maybe one of our OLs can put that link in the chat. And that's because all student registration windows are now closed, but they will reopen for drop add on the Saturday before classes begin. And students will again be permitted to make schedule changes, and that will go through the last day of drop add, which is always the fourth day of classes at 11:59 p.m. So essentially at midnight, your student is fee liable for the classes on their schedule. Any dropped credits after that point in time will require repayment of Bright Futures state financial aid if that is applicable to your students. Now, family members, hear me loud and clear on this one. At FSU, we no longer have a forgiveness policy in place for failed courses at FSU. That went out in the 80s with our music and our hairstyles. Thus, all course attempts at FSU will count into the GPA. Instead of the forgiveness policy, we now have a more generous drop policy. So as noted here on this slide, students may drop courses through the 7th week of classes without it showing as a W or a withdraw on the transcript. A few courses like English and math will require dean's permission to do this because they need to take those early in their career at FSU. And for these dropped courses before the 7th week, there is no refund, plus Bright Futures repayment kicks in. But truthfully, that can be better than failing a course and potentially losing Bright Futures. Your student should always discuss these kinds of decisions with an academic advisor. And please know that in crisis situations like hospitalization or family emergencies, we want your student to reach out to the dean's office. And that is because we can help your student navigate those difficult situations. And it is a lot better to help them in real time than after final grades have posted. So please keep communication lines open with us. Finally, on this point of registration, course registration is really a cycle, and it happens every semester, and the details are outlined in the academic calendar that is always kept up to date on the FSU website. So you can go there for the latest dates any given semester. Moving on to the next slide, if this is your first college student taking classes in Florida, you need to be aware of the excess hours policy. Our state legislature enacted this years ago to ensure that students were not overstaying their welcome, so to speak. So to that end, each student has a certain threshold of credit hours at the normal tuition rate, and that threshold gives most students an extra 24 credit hours in which to earn their degree beyond the 120 hours. If a student exceeds that threshold, they are assessed a hefty excess hours fee on top of the normal tuition rate for each credit hour taken. Now, all that said, the good news is that there are some exceptions to what is counted in the excess hours counter. And all that acceleration credit your student earned in high school is not counted into that figure. So that becomes an extra buffer on excess hours. So the vast majority of FSU students easily avoid excess hours. But as you can see on the right-hand part of this slide, excessive, failed, or dropped classes and very late can be problematic. So your student can check their excess hours counter in the academic tab of Student Central in My FSU. All right, on to grades and GPA. Now this next bit of information might be the most valuable that I have to offer. Grades and GPA are going to be a lot different than high school for you and your student. And here are three reasons why. First of all, at FSU, the top of the grade scale is 4.0. There are no more weighted courses like in high school. That just does not exist in college. Number two, students have fewer assessments within courses compared with high school, with a greater emphasis on test taking and writing papers. And number three, there's very little opportunity for extra credit. And if professors give it, it's usually worth just a very small proportion of what the overall grade is. On top of that, many students are living away from home for the first time, so freedom abounds. And you, as family members, will not have access to instructor grade books the same way you did while your student was in high school. So if you checked that for your student in high school, your student will have to learn to do that on their own, which is all a part of the adulting. Let me just say, they will get it figured out. We admitted your students because we know they have what it takes to be successful at FSU. We are very confident of this. But you do need to know that the first term GPA at FSU may not be what you and your student are accustomed to. Because on average, we see GPAs drop about 1 full GPA point from high school to college. This means a student with a 4.3 in high school on average might earn a 3.3 in college in their first term. But wherever that GPA lands, it almost always goes up after that first semester. And many of our students rise to the challenge and find their place on the president's list, the dean's list, and get a lot of invites to FSU recognized honor societies. But if your student is struggling, and some will, especially in really tough majors in the sciences and engineering and math, we have lots of help to offer. So we're going to move on to academic resources on the next slide. We provide help in a lot of ways. All faculty have office hours, even virtually, for course-related questions in your help. So your student should check the course syllabus for those details. But beyond that, most students use the Academic Center for Excellence, or ACE, as the first stop for help with tough classes, especially those in math and science. Peer tutoring is available for free via Zoom appointments at ACE and at university libraries, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later. ACE also offers online workshops and study skills strategies on our website. In fact, I've posted my PowerPoint today at the ACE website just to encourage you to check it out. So if you want the slides from this presentation, go to ace.fsu.edu and then the Study Skills and Tips tab to find it. There are a lot of gems in there for your student. Since many students are learning remote this semester, I've included a link to some tips for online learning. And additionally, if your student has had learning accommodations in high school, please get in touch with the Office of Accessibility Services to start the process of getting those accommodations lined up for the fall semester. We think it is much better to start college with those services in place. Our next slide are really about our Engage 100 opportunities and ways of engaging with others on campus. Chances are good that if your student has already signed up for one of our Engage 100 programs like Honors, CARE, Living Learning Communities, or Freshman Interest Groups. These are programs designed to help your student transition into a large research university and get connected in meaningful ways to other students and faculty. If orientation is still coming up in August for your student, there is still time. And for any student not in one of these programs, we are going to connect your student with a peer mentor for the fall semester because we think it will help your student adjust to life at FSU. And we encourage those students who are in all remote online classes and living outside of the Tallahassee area to sign up for a new program we call FSU Anywhere, so that we can do some customized reach out and offer some special advising to get you connected to campus. We've already reached out to students with the information about how to sign up for Florida State Anywhere, but the link is right there in the PowerPoint. Now, finally, my last comment is about access to information. At FSU, we firmly believe that we are in a partnership with you and your student when it comes to academic success. We will always encourage your student to keep you updated on their academic performance, but we do have to follow federal laws related to privacy of educational records for students who are 18 or older. Therefore, we want you to have a conversation with your student about what parts of the educational record they will share with you. And then your student can give you what we call delegated access to their online record. So essentially, they will enter your name and your personal email address so that you can set up your own account with your own password. You will not and should not have access to your student's password for information security reasons. Then your student will select types of information they wish to share with you. Things like their course schedule, final course grades at the end of the semester, student billing, which they'll probably share with the hope that you'll pay, financial aid, and even the unofficial transcript they can share with you. It is best to get delegated access set up now, so family members, good luck with the conversation and hold firm, especially if you are paying the bill. I know this was a lot of information, about 5 times faster than I normally deliver it, but we will have some good question time at the end, and I look forward to taking those. Thank you.
Okay, I'm next up. My name's Leslie Milley. I'm the Associate Director of the Career Center here at Florida State University. So it's great to see so many family members engaged with us in this presentation. And if you'll bear with me for one moment, I'm going to share my screen. Pull that over a bit. Okay. And from beginning. Okay. Can everybody, hopefully everybody can see my screen. Lindsay, give me a thumbs up if I'm good.
It's showing your desktop.
Show my desktop. Okay, that is not what I wanted. Screen sharing. Okay, share screen. How about now?
You're good to go.
Good to go. Okay. So one of the most common questions that we get from family members and students is, why would I visit the Career Center as a freshman or as a sophomore early on in my college career? What are the advantage of if I'm not ready to do that job searching? And so I really wanted to focus this presentation really help students get started with engaging with our Career Center. So we'll go ahead and we'll start off with, this is our overview slide in terms of resources and services that we offer. And so at the Career Center, we really want you to think about it as explore, experience, and engage. So you're really going to start off with exploring your options. At the Career Center, we really emphasize understanding your values, your interests, and your skills, and how all of those come together to tie into a choice for perhaps your major if you haven't decided yet, or an occupation that you might want to pursue down the road. And so we work on that with students through our career advising model. We're very unique at the FSU Career Center in that we offer a model called drop-in advising. So students never need an appointment to work with the Career Center. We found that it's a lot easier to meet students where they are. They get very busy. Setting appointments isn't always the best way to engage with them. And so our career advising model is completely drop-in. We offer that service between 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. When we are not in a virtual pandemic world, we do offer that in person, but we have pivoted all of our services at the Career Center to a virtual format. So students who want to participate in career advising will still be able to do that through Zoom. Well, they will just drop in. And so we have all that information on our website on how to do that. For students who want to go ahead and get a jump on things before they're actually on campus or before they want to engage with a career advisor, we have partnered with a company called Candid Career that has quick 2 to 5 minute video tips from employers and professionals, everything ranging from how do I pick what I want my major to be, all the way up through job searching and interviewing. So that's a really great tool that even family members could check out if you want to learn a little bit more about the resources that we provide. For those students who have room in their schedule, we offer a career planning course. SDS 3340 is Introduction to Career Development. It helps students to really learn and develop those necessary skills to engage in life and career planning. We offer it as a variable credit hour course. So a student who might not have room in their schedule for a 3 credit hour course could actually take one unit of the course for 1 credit hour, for instance. So that first few weeks of the class, first 5 weeks or so, really focuses on our career theory and career decision making. The next 5 weeks focuses on global, social, and economic conditions impacting the world of work. We anticipate that will be a lively discussion time considering the world that we're living in right now. And then the final 5 weeks focuses on employability skills, such as resumes, cover letters, job searching, interviewing skills, how to not ruin your life on social media, things that'll really help students to move to that next step. We have all class years in the course, freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors mixed together of all different majors across campus. And it's a team taught course, so students do get a lot of individual attention by an instructor. For those students who are ready to move on to gaining a little bit more experience, we offer our Garnet and Gold Scholar Society. It is a campus-wide, university-wide recognition program that students can participate in 3 out of 5 particular engagement areas. So they can do leadership, internship, service, international study, excuse me, and undergraduate research. And so students who are participating in these things, which we know they're doing anyway, can be recognized for going above and beyond both in and outside of the classroom. Professional Pathways is a way to earn digital badges, which are becoming more and more popular with employers and recruiters. It's a way to showcase the skills that you're gaining through different activities, either in or out of the classroom. So one of the, IBM has actually partnered with us for digital badging. Our Innovation Hub has actually started partnering with us for digital badges. So it might be something to look into if you're going into a field that might require a specific skill set. And then our Experience Recognition Program is a way to be recognized for experiences outside of the classroom. So most popular of that would be internships. And we have career liaisons who are Career Center staff members who are embedded in all the different colleges across campus who work with our students to help them find internships and experiences in their particular field of interest. So that's a really, really wonderful opportunity for students to tailor their internship search. And then eventually we know our students are going to want to engage with employers or engage with graduate school recruiters. And the #1 way to do that is to create a profile in our platform called Knoll Network. It's really your gateway into all the things the Career Center offers. Students can find and apply for part-time jobs, internships, full-time employment, view the different career fairs and information sessions that we offer. It's got a calendar of events. It's basically your way to directly connect with employers. To gain experience before you start talking to employers, we would urge you to engage in our mock interview program. And this is a practice interview program where you're interviewed just as if you were interviewing for a job or internship with a trained staff member who will play that video back. The whole thing is recorded. I need to definitely emphasize that. The interview is recorded and they play that interview back with you there to critique it and let you know what you've done well and what you need to improve on. And then finally, we do offer career fairs. And a lot of students might think, well, why would I go to a career fair when I'm just a freshman or a sophomore and I'm not actually looking for anything yet? It's a wonderful way for you to actually practice and work out those kinks, those nerves, those bugs, and help you do a little bit more research on the employers or even the graduate schools that you're interested in before something that you really want to go for is on the line. We do 20 different career fairs a year, ranging from our part-time job fair to Seminole Futures, which is our all majors career and internship fair, health professions fair, education and library fair, graduate school fair, law school fair. So you can see that there's many more that we offer for students of any occupational interest. All our fairs are open to all of our students of any major, any class year. So we don't restrict anything. One program I would definitely encourage you to take advantage of early is our FSUshadow program. It's a one-day job shadow experience that we do over winter break, spring break, and summer break. So it's a lot less commitment than an internship, which usually lasts for the duration of a semester. This is one day where you can go in and kind of try on that hat for a particular career field. So for instance, maybe you've always wanted to be a veterinarian. You should make sure that you can handle, it's not just petting doggies and kitties all day. You can make sure you handle, the good, the bad, and the ugly of a career field like that. We just finished our FSUshadow for summer break, and we had record participation, even though it was a completely virtual program. So normally when we're not in a pandemic, we do this in person. We have experiences not just in Tallahassee, but all over the state of Florida and even other locations around the country. But currently we've pivoted all of that to virtual, and we're getting incredible feedback and students who are already receiving internship offers just from the one day they spent with their shadow host. Professional mentors is another way that you can connect with alumni. Students can connect with alumni, friends, family members. So family members, we want to recruit you to be a professional mentor. And this is a completely virtual program where students can reach out to somebody in their particular field of interest and just ask career and occupational advice. It's just for them to learn a little bit more about how they can get into that field that they want to get into. What are things that they should be doing? What is some advice you would give them? And so you don't have to be an alumni of FSU to participate in this. Definitely reach out to us. You can go to that website, career.fsu.edu/professional mentors, if you would like to volunteer to be a mentor. It is a very low commitment program. If you don't want to have that many mentors, you get to choose how engaged you want to be with this. And so we really encourage our students to seek out the advice of people who have been, essentially in the seats that they are now. So family members really like to know about outcomes. Why should my student visit the Career Center? So every semester we do a graduating senior survey. We survey the seniors who are moving on to other opportunities upon graduation, and then we survey them again 6 months out. The #1 way that seniors who found employment opportunities were able to secure those opportunities was by engaging with Career Center services. So that is why we emphasize having a relationship with the Career Center early on, working with us throughout the student's career, college career, and not waiting until 2 weeks before graduation when they're in panic mode. We want them to be gradually working on those things. So we could use your help as family members to encourage your student to check us out early and maintain that relationship with us. Again, I want to emphasize our drop-in career advising. It's Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. This is offered virtually. And again, our career liaisons who are embedded in those different colleges, once the students get into their major, they have specific office hours as well. Once they're actually in their major, the career liaisons have access to those lists, and they'll be your student will be hearing from their career liaison. So encourage them to actually read their emails. That's, I think, something that we will emphasize, any staff member or faculty member will emphasize, is please encourage your student to actually read their emails and not just delete them, even though they get a lot of them. So as family members, we want you to connect with us as well. We, of course, want you to visit our website, career.fsu.edu. And we are extremely active on social media. And so if you want to kind of be clued in as to what the events are that the Career Center is holding, or some tips or things that we want your students to be engaged in, follow us on one of our social media sites. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are where you're going to see the most posts from us. If you're more of a professional networker, then you can also follow us on LinkedIn. That's the end of my portion of the presentation.
All right. Hey, y'all. How's it going? Lindsay, thank you so much for offering to do my slides for me. That'll make it much easier for me to access my notes. I'm just going to give Lindsay a second to share her screen with us. Thanks, Lindsay. All right, y'all. So I'm here on behalf of Florida State University Libraries. So on the next slide, I'll talk to you a bit about what libraries we have available for you. So we have 8 Tallahassee campus libraries, including our main 2, Strozier, which is located on Landis Green, and Dirac Science Library, which is located among FSU's science and math buildings. Other libraries on the main campus include the Allen Music Library, which is just lovely space anyway. The Claude Pepper Library, which has like this really cool exhibit in there. I highly recommend if you visit campus with your student to check that out. We have the McGuire Medical Library and the Law Research Center. We also have our FAMU FSU Engineering Campus, which is located in Innovation Park. So Strozier Library is usually open 24 hours, 5 days a week, and it has reduced hours on the weekend. Strozier is usually open 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. throughout the week. So of course, due to COVID measures, this is not the case. We do have limited hours for both libraries, which of course can be seen on the website, which someone has very kindly put in the chat for us. Thank you, Bento. So on the next slide, I just want to talk to you a bit about what we check out at the library, because I think sometimes we have a very historical perspective of what a library is. We think about a library, we think books, right? But we actually check out a lot more than just books. We check out technology, we check out chargers. So if your student forgets their phone charger at home or their laptop charger, they can just go ahead and check that out from one of our service desks. Also, if for whatever reason your student's laptop or device just stops working and needs to be repaired, or if for whatever reason they don't have a laptop, which is totally acceptable, we have laptops that we do check out. And again, due to COVID measures, if your student has financial need, we are able to loan out laptops for longer periods. I believe we're up to a week now, but I'd have to double check on that. As an additional note, you don't really have to have an academic reason to check out things from the library. So you can check out a projector or check out action cameras just for fun. So let your students know that we're more than books. Next slide, please. So we also have course reserves, and especially if you're bankrolling your child's education, this is probably something worth knowing about. We check out textbooks for up to 3 hours at a time. We are revising our loan policies because of COVID, and we may be checking these out for longer periods. Keep an eye on our website to find out more about that. But basically, pretty much any textbook that's used in any of our high drop, high enrollment classes, we have a textbook on reserve that your student can rent out for up to 3 hours. So this is good to know because we also have scanners in the library. So if your student only needs a chapter of a textbook, why pay hundreds of dollars for this textbook? Just check it out for a couple of hours and go scan it. And given, so I know there's some copyright concerns there, of course, but given the academic fair use policy, you are allowed to copy up to 10% of any textbook without it being a problem. Next slide, please. So we also have loads of study rooms and spaces. Unfortunately, our group study rooms are not available while COVID is happening, but we do have individual study spaces and of course desktop computers that students can use, again, if they don't happen to have their own personal device or if there's something wrong with their personal device. We also have printers and projectors and areas for students to practice their presentations. You can also book some of these rooms up to 3 days in advance using our library website, which is really handy, especially when you have like midterms or finals coming up, when a lot of the study spaces tend to be booked up just by people sitting there. And of course, given COVID measures, we can't have full capacity in either of our libraries. So I would highly recommend booking ahead of time for your students. Next slide, please. So at some point or another in your student's college career, they'll be asked to write a research paper or share a project where they've conducted their own research. So the library offers a variety of research support that helps students and faculty around campus, including navigating our website and online resources. So there's several tiers of research support that we offer. Of course, if you go to our website, we have our Ask a Librarian feature. which you can access any time of the day that the library is open, and even times when the library is not open, because we have like a backup chat system that someone from another university could potentially pick up the chat. So if your student happens to be a procrastinator and is someone who, like I was in college, tended to write their papers the day before, they can still get help on their research papers if they need it. However, I would recommend if they plan ahead, they'll be able to meet with one of our subject librarians. So our subject librarians are actually experts in research in whatever field it is that they're the subject librarian for. So for instance, we have an art history librarian, we have STEM librarians, and we have humanities librarians. So if your student is struggling to find academic sources for a paper they're writing on molecular bonds, they can contact any of our STEM librarians to help them navigate that research, which of course would be very intimidating for a freshman. So I would highly recommend your students being on top of their research and getting in time to get an appointment with their subject librarian. But of course, we do have the option for the procrastinators out there to use our Ask a Librarian function. Next slide, please. So this is probably my favorite part of the library. Unfortunately, I don't work here, but it's called Special Collections and Archives. And this is where we have all the really cool, really old, really rare stuff. So we have really cool collections like the Napoleon's Death Mask, and we have original Marvel and DC comics, as well as cuneiform tablets. All of our stuff is really precious and really rare and just amazing to look through. We have several documents and books that predate like medieval times. It's really interesting, especially if you have history majors. I would highly recommend directing them towards the Special Collections and Archives Division of Stroger. Next slide, please. So this is actually, I'm not biased. It's not like I run the tutoring program or anything, but tutoring is one of my favorite things about FSU libraries. We have a free tutoring program. So you might have heard of ACE. ACE does most of the tutoring on campus, and CARE also does some tutoring. But we also at the libraries do STEM tutoring, but this is a late night tutoring service. So again, for the students who either have obligations during the day or lots of classes during the day and don't have time to drop by ACE or drop into any of their online sessions, we have late night tutoring, which will be taking place completely through Zoom for the foreseeable future, at least for the fall. We're not sure about spring yet. But the thing I'll tell you is our structure is a little different from anyone else on campus. We do group tutoring. So what ends up happening is students who attend our tutoring end up forming sort of like study groups. So they'll come back at the same times, interact with the same people, and they'll have tutors there to help them through their homework assignments. But they also have an opportunity to bond with other students who are in the same courses that they are. We also have, in addition to STEM tutoring, some modern language tutoring, but this is through the Modern Languages program. So the hours are not quite the same and tend to be sporadic throughout the day. We do have a calendar on our website, so I would recommend taking a look as well before dropping by or checking the Zoom out. Next slide, please. So we also host a variety of events and workshops, both for stress relief, so around finals time, and we also have workshops for skill building. So the way that students can see what we're hosting at any given time is by going to our website. And if you scroll down a little bit on our website, there's a whole section called events and workshops. And if you click on that, you can see all of the workshops that we have, including the ones that are just there for fun. So just to list out a few of the finals week stress busters we do, we usually do a Bob Ross themed paint night. And we also have really cool stress busting activities such as like Legos or coloring, things like that, just to keep your students calm at times when things may otherwise be stressful. We also have skill building opportunities such as like research, formulating citations, data management tools. So definitely check that out and encourage your student to do so as well. All right, next slide, please. All right, last but definitely not least, if you remember nothing else, please remember our website because we have everything you need from there. From that main page, you can link out to the tutoring hours, you can link out to the building hours, you can link out to all of the workshops and events we have coming up, and it'll also allow you to ask us questions through the Ask the Librarian feature. through which you can ask any questions, not just ones about research, and we'll be happy to help you. And of course, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Insta if you have any of those. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank y'all for those presentations. We're gonna go ahead and move over to our questions in the remaining time we have left. So if you have anything that you want to get answered, we will try to get that answered for you. So please send those questions to Harrison or Alexa in the chat, and we will try to get those answered in the remaining time we have. We're gonna go ahead and move on to questions as they came in. So first are more of undergraduate studies questions. So Dr. Hammond, when can you drop a class without financial penalty? Ooh, Dr. Hammond, you're on mute.
Thank you. The drop add period, anytime a student has access to registration, they can make adjustments to their schedule. And that stops for a little while. Registration is closed now, but it always opens back up the Saturday before classes begin in a given term, and it ends with drop add on the 4th day of classes at 11:59 p.m. So after that, a student is financially liable for the courses on their schedule. They can ask for a course drop, they can take the course drop, but they are still financially liable unless there are some extenuating circumstances. Those would be decisions that have to be made by a dean's office. And so if there is some kind of extenuating circumstances, again, that's an important time to get into the student's dean's office.
Thank you. Next question. We're just going to keep on going with undergraduate studies until I get to the questions that are next with Career Center. Will students each have their own advisor? And can you explain a little bit about that process of students getting advisors?
Yes, academic advisor assignments are made based on the major because that advisor is affiliated with the major that student is in. So there is a list of majors. They may have met with one during orientation they felt they really bonded with, and different sites do it a little bit in different ways. It could be an assignment based on alphabetical. It could just be whoever is available at the time that it is convenient for you to come in for academic advising. So the advising sites have been working at making that information available to students, and I would encourage your student to look out for an email as we get closer to the first week of classes about how to schedule appointments and how to communicate on a regular basis with their advising office. But Advisor Search, the link that I shared in my presentation, has that information for looking it up as well.
Thank you. Next question, will the content and rigor of courses look any different with the majority of them being offered remotely?
The rigor and the excellence in teaching is the same, regardless of how we deliver courses. So I think what students and their family members can expect is to have very high quality courses. In fact, over the summer, we initiated a lot of work. Faculty members were very busy taking some of the courses that have traditionally been taught face-to-face only and adapting those to a remote or online format. So ultimately, I think a lot of good things are coming out of this in terms of instruction. We are forced to be creative, and I think our faculty, by and large, are rising to the challenge.
Next question is, when does a student have to declare their major if they're currently undecided?
Our goal for your student is to declare their major by the end of their first year. Now, some students are coming in with a lot of credit. So if your student is coming in with the Associate in Arts degree, the pressure's on to get that major declared right away. But most students have till about the end of their first year. And if your student is in what we call the exploratory major, they're going to get some really good advice and support support in making that decision. Now, sometimes students come in for a semester or two and then realize maybe they aren't in the right major. We will work with them. They can still now at this point change their major to exploratory if they would like to, or they can go, they can change their major from one to the next as long as they are on map for the major that they intend to change into. So that is a conversation with that advisor in the potential new major to ensure that that is indeed the case.
Thank you, Dr. I think that's all we have for academic questions right now. So I'm going to move on to Career Center questions. So the first one is, let me find it. Ooh, just had it. I have a lot of, between the questions and the links is a lot, but I found it. Is it recommended that students complete an internship before they graduate, and how can I help with that decision-making process as a family member?
Sure. So it is recommended that students complete an internship. In fact, there is a formative experience requirement at Florida State, and one of the ways to fulfill that is by doing an internship. We encourage students to work with their career liaison of their particular, college or major to seek out something that's going to be a right fit for them. And we really, when we say right fit, we mean something that is going to, if they need the internship to be paid versus unpaid, because that could be a consideration for many family members. If they need that internship to be virtual, which is definitely a consideration right now. If they need that internship to be in their hometown, perhaps their hometown is a small town and it's not something that, maybe the internships haven't been posted for their town. Our career liaisons can actually work with the student and work with some of the companies in that town to create an internship that will work for that student if we don't have something posted. So we really encourage students to start looking for an internship about a semester prior to when they want to do it. So let's say a student wants to do a summer internship, they really need to start looking for that internship in January, February of the prior semester so that they have the most options available to them. So as a family member, what you can do is encourage your student to utilize Knoll Network, which is that system that we utilize to work with employers to have them post their opportunities with us so students have more of a one-stop shop. So encourage your students to utilize Knoll Network to take advantage of either our drop-in career advising or connect with their career liaison and start talking about what they think they might want to do so that the career liaison can connect them to an opportunity that will either help them solidify their decision in terms of the occupation that they want to go into, or maybe it will have the opposite effect and let them know, you know what, maybe I don't want to work in the field of accounting, or maybe I don't want to work as a veterinarian because I can't stand the sight of animals being hurt. So, just really encourage them to engage with us as much as possible and as early as possible.
Thank you. Next question is, does the Career Center offer help for engineering students, or do they have their own Career Center?
Absolutely. So we are what's called a comprehensive centralized career center, which means we provide the career services for the entire Florida State University student population. We have a embedded career liaison for the FAMU FSU College of Engineering, and recognizing that that college is somewhat, we'll call it our Southwest campus, a little farther from campus. So our career liaison spends much more time in person at the FAMU FSU College of Engineering to work directly with those students. That liaison is also responsible for outreach to employers to encourage them to post their opportunities in Knoll Network for full-time jobs, for even part-time opportunities, and for internships that engineering students can do. So yes, we absolutely support College of Engineering students and have somebody dedicated to them as their full-time primary job.
And the last question I'm seeing currently for Career Center is, what is the social media address for your Facebook and Instagram?
It is at FSU Career Center.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If one of my OLs could drop that in the chat.
Yeah, I already saw somebody. I was looking at my phone and I could see a few people already liked the FSU Career Center on Facebook. So thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate it.
That's perfect. We're going to go ahead and move on to our library questions. The first one is, considering the circumstances of COVID, do you have any advice for how my student can best utilize the libraries this fall?
In my personal opinion, I would say to access our online services. You can pretty much access any library resource or service remotely. Even our physical materials, we have curbside pickup and drop off for books, so your students don't actually have to come into the library. They're more than welcome, of course, if they're willing to take the risk, but of course we want to keep our students as safe as possible. So I would recommend engaging online as much as possible.
Next question, are there printers available for students to use?
Absolutely. There are printers available. There's also a how-to video available through our website and our YouTube channel, which can teach students how to print using the library resources.
And next one is, are there any online resources for textbooks that you would recommend?
This is a really long answer. I'm going to try to shorten it. But basically, unfortunately, it's up to the professors whether they use openly available textbooks or not. We have several affordable textbook initiatives going on right now and incentives for professors to choose open textbooks. So the open textbooks basically are textbooks students can access freely online. We do that, we encourage that both for cost accessibility as well as in times like this, do you really want to take the risk of going into the library and getting a physical textbook? So it's a kind of a longer question than that, but basically some of them, yes. But for the most part, unfortunately, no, it is physical course reserves only.
Thank you. I think those cover it for the library questions. We do have a few more coming in that were academic. So Dr. Hammond, what are the recommendations for a student coming in with large amounts of AP and dual credits?
Well, that is a conversation that hopefully your student has had with their academic advisor. We definitely need to get a handle on that during academic advising to make sure that we are getting them in the classes that they need and not ones that they don't. If it is a student who has the Associate in Arts degree, we want them to connect to our GPS office, Graduation Planning Strategies, because in that case, we are going to make sure that we get your transcript in from your prior institution and all that credit gets into your onto your transcript at FSU. And then we're going to probably talk with you about some special programs like things like Degree in 3, where you might be able to accelerate your time at FSU, or More in 4, which is an opportunity to perhaps start graduate school at FSU while spending at least your 4 years here at FSU. In general, about this time as that AP and dual enrollment credit is coming in, this is the time when we're going to be reminding your students to go in and take a look at their transcripts. We can only give credit towards the 120 credit hours in your student's program if we know what those courses are. So your student needs to make sure that we have all of those AP, IB, ACE test scores, CLEP scores on file, and that the transcript has come in from the prior institution, and that credit is reflected in your FSU transcript.
Thank you for that. We have one more question regarding kind of academic related undergraduate studies. Is there any certain website or program used for online class interaction and coursework?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Is there a certain website or program used for class interaction and coursework?
I believe that many of our professors are using Zoom to teach their classes, but I'm sure that there are many other kinds of resources that are in use. So one of the things that I would encourage your student to do is, once they're enrolled in a course, they can go into Canvas, which is our learning management system, and they can open up the course, and they can look at things like the syllabus and the course description, any materials that that professor has posted that should give them a really good idea of how this course is going to be taught. And you know, I think it's important, especially right now. I think one of the things that I find is sometimes confusing to new students is this notion of, is the course asynchronous? Does it meet at set times, or is it asynchronous? Meaning that work has to be done on a schedule, but the entire class is not, you know, tuning in at the same time to participate in learning activities. And so I think the more that students understand what the course is now, they're better prepared in case they do want to make some schedule adjustments during drop add. So we do have a couple of weeks until that drop add period opens. So get in there, take a look at Canvas courses, and make sure you're really comfortable with that particular course, because you will have your chance to do some swapping if needed. And of course, do this in conjunction with your academic advisor too.
So we have time for a few more questions. Last one that's specifically undergraduate studies, but do dual enrollment classes go towards your college GPA, or does it start over once at FSU?
Well, that is an excellent question. For brevity tonight, I did not get into all of this, but if your student took high school dual enrollment classes prior to high school graduation, then your student actually has 2 GPAs. They have an overall GPA, which will represent their work at that prior institution and their graded work at FSU. If you are a student, if your student is coming in with no prior college coursework, then your student would only have an FSU GPA. For GPA purposes, any of our acceleration programs that are based on tests, like AP, IB, ACE, CLEP, we are giving you college credit based on a test score, not based on a course that you took with a grade at another post-secondary institution. So that is essentially the difference between those 2 GPAs. And those 2 GPAs are used for different purposes. So when we talk about good academic standing, and it takes a 2.0 FSU GPA to be in good academic standing, that's based on just your FSU classes, because right now your progress at FSU is just based on your FSU classes. But the really good news is, you know, if you did high school dual enrollment, not only do those courses count towards your degree, they count towards requirements, but they count towards your overall GPA, which is the GPA used for a lot of big things, like getting admitted to your major, like being invited to honor societies, graduating with a degree of distinction, like cum laude, summa cum laude, etc. So you'll just have these 2 GPAs used for different purposes if you indeed transferred from another institution that you attended after high school graduation, or if you did high school dual enrollment.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and it's going to be for all 3 of you. But what is your advice for success in online and remote classes?
My advice is set up a good schedule and manage your time effectively. I think, honestly, the #1 challenge that students face academically in the transition from high school to college is really learning how to manage their time and take charge of the tasks that they need to do on a daily and weekly basis. I've seen it. I've seen it at the high school level. Procrastination is a little easier to pull off at the high school level than it is at the college level, just because of the depth of some of the assignments and the rigor that's expected in these courses. And so I think getting your calendar ready and really scheduling pure study time, not just in class, but scheduling study time to prepare for class, to review your notes after class. There's a whole study cycle. Go to the ACE website and see it, and take advantage of a lot of the time management and study skills tips that we have on the ACE website. Again, that's ace.fsu.edu. Thanks.
I would echo everything that Dr. Hammond says. And just to add to that, I would, in terms of success for virtual or remote classes, because it is a little bit different, try to create for yourself a dedicated place for you to work. Just speaking for myself, who's had to pivot to working 100% remotely, which is not something I'm used to doing. I'm working from my dining room table. I have a very dedicated space that I do my work from, so that I don't do my work in bed. I don't do my, just have that place that you can work. So that's your workspace, and your couch is your TV watching space or your game space, just so that you have some separation between, your regular life going on around you and your schoolwork life.
So I definitely echo everything both of you have said. And in addition to that, I'll say one of the biggest challenges that I think we'll see over the next semester, being mostly remote, is just sense of belonging. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to form community for a lot of our students coming in. So I would recommend that, given the capacity, they sign up for some extracurriculars, or they attend events or workshops, not just library ones. I'm not just plugging the library here, I promise. But yeah, I really feel that, like, maybe join a club, join a student organization. I think it would be really helpful for them feeling like they're a part of FSU.
That's all the time we have for questions, and I have a few more things to share before we wrap up tonight. But first, just want to say thank you to all three of you for presenting and answering questions. It was super helpful. Really appreciate that. And also thanks to everyone who submitted questions. You had some really good ones, and just want to point out, if we didn't get to your questions, please make sure to reach out, and we will try to get those answered. I'm sure all three of these lovely people would love to answer your questions and make sure that your students are on the right foot starting college. But I will share my screen one last time so we can go over a few things and a few reminders. So we have a couple more family webinar series before school starts. So we have next week, which is Ask the OLs, and it will be offered in English and Spanish. So that's basically your chance to ask any questions that we haven't gotten to yet, or things that might happen within the next couple weeks that you want to know. So highly encourage you all to come to that. That will be super helpful. And I know the OLs are super eager to answer your questions. And then the week after that, which is the first day of class, is getting involved. And that would be super, super important at this time. Like it was mentioned, getting involved at this point where we don't know when we'll be back in person fully. Getting involved is super important in making sure you have that community, your student has that community, and making sure that their time at Florida State is the best it can be. So we have that. We also make sure that you stay connected. So right here we have an orientation email, our Facebook, our Instagram and Twitter. New Student and Family Programs is always posting on social media and making sure that you are up to date. And also these little pictures on the side are Instagram templates that were made, and it's a great way for students to interact with each other. They're reposted, so if your student goes on there and fills it out, there's a good chance that it'll be featured on the Instagram story. So that is fun and another way to get connected and just get to know other people. And lastly, we have Virtual FSU, which is another way to make sure that your student has the support that they need going into college, where it's mostly remote. So that is a great way to make sure that they have everything they need and get started at FSU and start their college career correctly and on the right note. So I will stop sharing my screen. Again, thank you all for coming tonight. We enjoyed having you and having your questions being answered, and I hope you got a lot out of it. But please make sure to stay connected and come back to the family webinar next week. But that is all we have for you tonight.